There we go. So I deal a lot with, at the association, we're a not-for-profit association. We represent all of Canada's largest advertisers. They look to us for things like consulting on privacy, on measurement. If you're looking for a new agency, we get involved in that as well. We do a lot of different things, but there's only 8 of us. And we're also plugged into the world. So we deal with the World Federation of Advertisers. We work with the United States, with the ANA, and all sorts of things. And so when it comes to looking at things, we spend a lot of time looking at standards and how do we know what we know. So like, are those numbers solid? And so that comes down to standards. So, and I figured that you guys were having drinks tonight, so I thought I'd sort of try and keep it light and have no charts. So I thought also an analogy might be helpful. So innovations are flings, and standards are your spouse and family. So let's just sort of start there. Give me a little bit of latitude to work with this. If you don't like it, you can complain about it, and I'll be seeing HR tomorrow, but that's okay, all right? So here we go. Thank God that, well, thank you God for that God is not an electrical engineer, because although there are standards, clearly you can see there's problems about how things fit together. So clearly if you're out trying to look for flings, and this is a this would be a big problem, right? So we want to make sure that standards are broad enough that people can actually use them. And then we also have to have a balance between standards and innovation. We love innovation. Innovation is great. And so this is a great example, right? Self-driving cars. This is a Canadian one that is, out testing this innovation. How many of you would like to get in this in January when there's black ice and it's a whiteout? No, nobody wants to do that, right? So you get in this idea, well, maybe innovation is not really cut out for everything. So that's where we start talking about standards, right? And you go, oh yeah, beautiful road, but what would happen if everyone was just allowed to decide where they wanted to drive? That would be really bad. So we actually have a standard that says, you drive on the right-hand side of the road until you get to Britain. And then you have to figure out how to drive on the left side of the road. But that's a standard that really works, keeps the deaths down, lets everyone get to where they're going. Now, there's been this idea that, we're going to democratize things. Actually, let's just build that there. Let's democratize the broadcasting of video, right? And that's great. That sounds awesome. Democracy is good, right? Everyone should have a vote. Everyone has an opinion. Let's go off for that. And, this is out of the New Yorker. These smug pilots have lost touch with regular passengers. Who thinks I should fly the plane? You go, no way, we're not doing that. Like, we need to have experts when it comes to standards and how things sometimes get done. Democracy is not a good idea in every single case. And here's an example. So, we spend a lot of time looking at brand safety, right? It's been a big thing. When we were looking at the pedophile comments on the social media platforms on various video, we were front and center on this to go, this is a big problem. It has to stop because advertisers' dollars are funding that. And that doesn't happen in broadcast. It never happens in broadcast because it has experts that basically are scripting the shows, they're measuring the shows, they're placing the ads in the right places. It doesn't happen. Now, this isn't pedophilia, but it's kind of weird, right? Like, imagine you're a TV buyer, right? And you go, okay, we're going to get in front of you and we're going to sell you this show called Southeast Asian Catfishing with Your Hands, and you're going to sponsor it. No, nobody wants to sponsor this, but it's getting millions of views, and there's probably some village in Southeast Asia that's funding, everyone now has scooters and TVs because they're getting all sorts of money from advertisers through the platform, which is great for them, or maybe not. Maybe somebody's taking advantage of it. The thing is, we don't even know who these producers are. We have no idea what's going on there, yet they're still being monetized, okay? And this isn't the worst example that I've ever seen. This is a funny one, actually, but I've got a collection of YouTube thumbnails that would blow your mind as to what's available on there, okay? Gets worse. Long time ago, they used to use kids in TV shows, way, way, way back in the day, and there was a little kid called Jackie Coogan. And when he reached the age of majority, he discovered that his parents had blew all the money that he earned as a child star. And he's like, what the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life? I'm a child star, now I'm an adult star, but nobody wants to hire me, and my parents, took all my money, thanks very much, right? So they enlisted a thing called Coogan's Law. And they said, okay, look, there's standards, there's experts that are going to come to the table that protect people. Well, that's not happening here, right? We don't know who these producers are. We don't even know what country they're in. So again, they're monetizing stuff. Innovation's great. Love ad serving. Fantastic innovation. It counts ads on a one-by-one basis, gets them out the door. But now we've got two standards. We've got impression standards from digital video, and we've got audience standards, GRP, from television. Both are great. But the question is, how are we going to reconcile those things? Well, you know, it used to be we had DC current and AC current, right? And it was Tesla versus Edison. And in fact, Edison electrified a 4-ton elephant just to show you how dangerous electricity was. In the end of the day, he lost that standard. We went over to AC current instead of DC. But the point was that experts sat down and looked at this thing and figured out what is the advantages of one versus the other. And so this brings us closer to what we actually do on a day-to-day basis. We work really closely with the Media Rating Council, and we're looking at the cross-media measurement standards for video and television. And reading that stuff makes your eyes bleed. I'll tell you, that is 200 pages of detailed information about how ad serving works, and Nielsen works, and ComScore, and on and on and on. So you have to sort it out somehow. And then sometimes you get into a place where somebody's not meeting the standard. And so the question is, well, what are you going to do with them, right? You know, we can't have a big tent where it's like, you know, Boy Scouts when you're 7 years old and giving out badges for breathing. Oh, yeah, congratulations, you're awesome. You breathe, you get a badge. It's like, no way. You don't meet the standard, you get cut off and you get kicked out of the club. Simple as that. And that's Groucho Marx basically saying that. He didn't want to be a member of any club that would have him. So this is how we deal with these things. And I'm not pitching this event to you guys. What I'm saying is, as an association, this is how we do it. We'll bring experts up from around the world, around states, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about the $3 billion that is being spent in television and about the $900 million that's spent in digital video. Question is, how did those things come together? Because it's really actually valuable when you bring it together. There's different reasons why you would use a YouTube video versus a Facebook video versus a broadcast video. And you're right, they have to be constructed differently in terms of the way that they're put out there. They have different uses, different means, different people that you're talking to. So again, we have to sort this out. We have to know what the numbers mean. We need to know that they're solid and understandable. There's too much fraud going on in the market. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what a view is. Views are bullshit. Impressions, there's actual standard around that. And if you can't actually use the word impression if it's not for real. And you have to get into the detail about what an impression actually is. And again, that comes from the MRC standards. And that's it. So, love to have any questions thrown my way. Well, we are. There's a few spots left, but we're pretty we keep the event is pretty small, and you know they're free for our members. We make them free because that's what we have to do to make sure that we want people to come and actually engage on this stuff and spend some time talking about it.
Amazing. Who has some questions for Chris?
Right there.
Hi. Have you had any conversations with Google, meaning YouTube, and Facebook?
Yes.
And share.
We have indirect conversations. We have direct conversations. We have conversations through the MRC. So just to give you an idea what that looks like, the MRC is the only association, we're a member of that, they're the only association that goes in and actually audits Google and Facebook and Nielsen and ComScore and Moat and DV and IAS. I'm the only guy in Canada that reads all of those audit reports, sadly. So the point is, when we look at what's in that audit report, we have a very good understanding of how that JavaScript is working, what it's measuring and what it's not measuring, how it can be spoofed. circumvented all the problems with that, and we're talking with the audit committee that involves essentially the world's advertisers and also the world's agencies. And sometimes Google and Facebook sit in on those calls so they can hear directly the feedback that people are asking questions about. And I will say that if you go to the MRC's website, it does list all the accreditations that Google has. And there is a lot. They've invested a lot of time and money in sorting this crap out. Now, there's still work to be done, but they're way ahead of Facebook on that one. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Twitter, not there yet. LinkedIn, not there yet. Pinterest coming. Amazon, not there yet. Yeah. Great question, though. Thank you.
Hi, you mentioned that the MRC does these audits, but who actually regulates companies like Google and Facebook? Who does the regulatory work?
Okay.
And how, once these audits are done, how the recommendations from these audits are implemented in reality by these companies?
Great. Excellent question, because the thing is the regulation aspect of it, it is a self-regulatory approach. So these companies come to the MRC to say, look, I've got this product, I'd really like to get an audit and an accreditation. They apply for it against the standard that's been written. The standard has been written by the community. All people like you can participate in those if you're members. And then, so the regulation is based on those guidelines, right? We're not talking about privacy, we're not talking about fake news and all that other stuff. It's a pretty limited scope in terms of the measurement side. And so then what happens is the auditors, it's seconded out to Ernst & Young. Ernst & Young has 100 auditors in Florida that are experts at media measurement. And they sit down and they go, let's run a bunch of impressions through this damn thing and see what happens. Let's see if it actually does a preload cache on an OTT environment with a bunch of sophisticated invalid traffic that we can measure. It gets crazy. That gets reported back to the community, the agencies. People like Joe Barone at Group M, for instance, is a big advocate of this whole process. And then we hear the audit, and then we vote. So if it comes back and the auditors go, this is working really well, then the vote happens, and then you get your accreditation. You get the double check marks, and that means that metric is actually audited and accredited, right? So for instance, a great example is YouTube TrueView. That is audited and accredited. Facebook has been audited and accredited for what's called the served impression, which is, they went from served impression to begin to render, meaning that the actual ad started to show up on your screen. Right now, that's not a viewable impression, that's something else.
Yeah,
It
so
gets wonky.
it's very complicated, but it's buyer beware. Our industry isn't aware. We've made a lot of mistakes, and I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate you coming to MarketingTO to help educate us, and hopefully you get a lot of connections from the people in this room to kind of help elevate our industry. Thank you very much, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.